Hello, and welcome back to the Endeavors AI podcast, where we focus on practical, real world applications of AI that help founders, operators, and investors buy back time and make better decisions. I'm Colin McKee, founder of Endeavors AI. Today's conversation is not about hype tools or surface level AI trends. My guest is Greg Bauer, partner at ScaleUp Labs, a venture firm that invests exclusively in AI, sources deal flow globally, and approaches AI less as a tool and more as a coworker embedded inside real operations. We're going to talk about where AI is actually creating durable value, why vertical AI matters more than most people realize, how culture impacts scaling across borders, and what founders should be focused on right now. Greg, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Colin. It's good to be here.
So you invest exclusively in AI, but you're really very clear that there's a bubble. What are most people getting wrong about AI right now?
That's such a broad question, Colin. It's hard to answer that. What are most people getting wrong about AI? The AI that most people know are the large language models or the horizontal AI, which they're using to help them write their emails or edit pictures or produce presentations or whatever the case may be. So they don't really understand where AI is really going to make an impact in business. Now, horizontal AI brings in business, and I think this is where the gist of your question is, horizontal AI is bringing general productivity gains across an organization. But the real value of artificial intelligence, as far as we're concerned, is where artificial intelligence is going to bring very specific point solutions that have a much more rapid ROI, a much more measurable ROI than it would have with a horizontal solution across an organization.
Well said. So for people that are unfamiliar with ScaleUp Labs, how do you operate differently from a traditional venture capital firm?
ScaleUp Labs, traditional venture capital firms tend to be pretty general in their approach. They may have specifics that they go to. We're very specific in what we do in two areas. One is all of us that are principals in the firm are lifelong startup entrepreneurs ourselves. So we're originators. And we run a venture builder, venture foundry, or whatever you want to call it, where we do originations as part of our investment thesis. And our originations are all in artificial intelligence and have been for several years. The second thing that we do is, as opposed to sourcing deal flow generally in the United States, we're a US-based venture firm, we source our deal flow from Latin America and Europe, where we see that there are very creative and very capable entrepreneurs, startup entrepreneurs, but don't have access to the much larger global markets or access to the US capital systems. And consequently, their growth tends to be stymied. And of course, that stymied growth produces a great deal of opportunity, if that can be broken through, for investors. And that's our investment thesis. So we're investing in what comes out of our venture builder, and we're investing from our deal flow in Latin America and Europe.
So when was it that you decided that you'd broaden out from focusing on the States, or was that from the start and go more so in Latin America and Europe? Was there a catalyst to that? Or
Oh, there was. There certainly was. We started that in early 2018. I was invited to come to Colombia to speak at a conference on leadership, entrepreneuring, and innovation between the United States and Latin America. And when I stood up to speak to that conference, I looked out across that sea of entrepreneurs and I listened to their questions and I listened to their businesses they were building. And I had an opportunity to talk to them afterwards. And I did a little bit of questioning and found out that they all had a great deal of respect for U.S. knowledge and experience in venture investing as well as in startup entrepreneuring. And many of them had aspirations to expand to the United States. So I called back to my partners in Boston and said, guys, I think there's an opportunity here. And that opportunity yielded our expansion into Latin America and ultimately our expansion into Europe. And we did that and still do that through an advanced acceleration platform that we call ScaleUp LATAM or ScaleUp Europe, where we provide that path to internationalization and capitalization for those companies that are investment worthy as far in solving a global problem based upon our analysis.
It's great. You found a wonderful opportunity. So my next question was going to be, that you're founders first and investors second. It's obvious why you found a lot of value in the founders outside of the US, not saying that US founders are any less valuable.
Oh, they're great. They are.
Does
I'm a
that,
U.S. founder. Come on, we're all good.
right, right. but you found, maybe a pond others weren't swimming in or fishing in, however you want to call it. How does that change how you evaluate the companies themselves as opposed to how you would have evaluated them here in the States?
I don't think it really changes it dramatically, to be honest with you. In the States, we tend to get companies that are that are building their companies for international expansion naturally. In Latin America and Europe, we tend to find companies that have built their companies for the region, sometimes for their own country. Because I say this with respect, but many times the founders in Latin America and Europe, particularly Latin America, don't think they have permission to go beyond their country borders. And so we offer them that permission. But how do we evaluate them differently? We're looking for solutions that are not country specific or region specific. We're looking for solutions there where they truly have designed a solution that has global implication and global value propositions. And those are the companies we invest in. We tend to find more companies that are, in fact, that have designed the business for something very specific to their country or their region. A place where that happens a lot is in the financial services sector.
Okay.
Financial services are so different, and health tech as well, in some cases. They're so different in the way they operate between what we do in the United States and what happens in the other geographies internationally, that many of those solutions become point or regionally specific solutions.
And so there was one thing you said in our initial conversation that kind of stuck out to me. You said what you'd tell an audience today, as opposed to in 2 months, is going to be completely different. How does that affect your investment strategy?
Well, that where that comes from is the whole world of artificial intelligence is advancing so rapidly and expanding so rapidly that what you could do today, what we can do today or can't do today, we'll probably be able to do in 2 months or even 2 weeks. So consequently, it's how to describe it. The best way I could see it is we have to shoot way in front of the duck. If we were shooting 20 degrees in front of the duck 10 years ago,
Right.
we're shooting 90 degrees in front of the duck today so that we are sure to hit that the company that we're investing in is truly going to hit its stride in concert or in, can't think of the word, in synchrony with the way the technology is developing.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, you're 100% right there. Things that we thought that we needed to spend time building, even last week, the large firms are building for us, so we don't need to expend our time. But who would have known,
Who
too
would
much?
have known? And what I meant by what I tell a company, what I tell a group 2 months ago versus today. An example, look at the way that quality code can be developed with AI tools like Claude to effectively, rapidly prototype a situation and test it in real market testing, whereas you would have spent months trying to code it and build code in the past. Tools that the startup entrepreneur can use today versus before. Think about personas. Think about how hard it was to test your product, test your product market fit and your value proposition in the past. You had to go talk to millions of people and you had to filter out all of the biases and so forth to get to an accurate answer. It's relatively simple today to build synthetic personas and test those value propositions on synthetic personas to give you some real solid indication before you go out and do actual in the field testing. There's things that expedite and can amplify a business's potential and ability to expand are just endless, and they're changing every day,
Yep.
every day.
So regardless of the speed and the technology, what fundamentals are you telling your founders don't change? What are things that they need to stay focused on regardless of the noise, regardless of the new shiny tools? What are the
Well, don't just because you can build. Here's a perfect one. Just because you can build something with the new shiny tools, let's say the coding tools that you could build, doesn't mean you should. In
right?
other words, build a solution that is solving a real market problem and a market problem that is big enough to justify the time you're going to put into it and the fact people really care about it. So solve real problems. Don't solve problems just because you can. And this is the challenge that we have in finding a good solid opportunities to invest in is so many founders today have gone out and are building solutions to problems that they're interested in, but nobody cares about.
Right.
So the acceleration programs I mentioned to you earlier, we only take 10 companies per year. And that's 10 companies not from Latin America and 10 companies from Europe. That's 10 companies, period. And to get those 10 companies that we bring through the program, and we take a position in them when we bring them to the program, We look on average between 550 to 600 applications to find those 10 companies. So it's not that the other companies are bad. It's the other companies probably aren't building a solution that has got a big enough market appeal and solving a real problem that they're investable.
Yep. Stay solution customer focused because it's easy to get distracted nowadays, right?
It's so easy.
So, in plain English, how would you define horizontal versus vertical AI?
Well, okay. How would I describe that? Okay. Horizontal AI it would be the large language models, the open AIs and the perplexities and in many cases the Googles and so forth, where they have a broad market appeal they've got a um and they can solve any problem. They can solve many problems, but they're they're not deep. So they're a mile wide and an inch deep. Vertical AI is solving a very specific problem. Vertical AI comes with a proprietary data set, whereas horizontal AI has got a broad data set. Vertical AI usually comes with a data set that is already partially trained against the application that is being specifically used for. Vertical AI tends to have a much then because it's solving a specific problem. So it's easy to measure the ROI versus the horizontal AI, which is solving a broad problem and across an organization will provide probably a general lift in productivity. But how do you measure that? So it's the specific data set versus of vertical AI versus the internet soup of horizontal AI.
Yep. Well put. You can call it a niche or a market set, focus on one thing, do it the best instead of trying to blanket yourself and catch fish because you might not be able to wrangle that fish in once it's caught. It's,
Exactly.
yeah. So excellent. Thanks for that description. So let me take a quick pause just to talk to the audience. If you like the content here, I encourage you to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It'll be a lot of good, valuable conversations such as this one with Greg. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them. We read them all. Love to hear the feedback, and we'll grow and stay focused on what the audience wants to hear. So with that, walk us through the manufacturing example that you mentioned from paper travelers to an AI coworker.
That's a very good example of vertical AI, but it's also an example of a different kind of vertical AI because most cases AI is built to deal with systems of record. So it can easily go in and mine systems of record because the data is relatively neat and relatively well organized. Corello is a different type of vertical AI that's designed to deal with unstructured data. So it has the ability to paper travelers. Let's use an example. For those of you who don't know what a paper traveler is, in a manufacturing system today, certainly in small to medium manufacturers, large manufacturers, not so much, but in small to medium manufacturers, the way that they build something, make something is they print out a paper traveler that has instructions and all of the needs and so forth, the tooling and the spare and the raw materials and so on and so forth to make a part. And that paper is called a traveler because it travels through the manufacturing process with whatever parts is being made. So as one operation is done, the operator makes notes and so on and so forth and passes the part down to the next station and it passes the paper traveler along with it. And when the product is done, the product goes out and the paper traveler gets filed in some filing cabinet somewhere and lost. And the next time that the manufacturer, and this is particularly true in manufacturers that are dealing with a large variety of SKUs. Next time the manufacturer has to manufacture that, then they're back in terms of how did I do it? Now, what's even worse is that the operators can't write down everything that they do in a step. A lot of that resides in tribal knowledge within or your unique knowledge that you have. So
Mhm.
now you call and decide that you've done your 20 years, you're ready to go and sit on the beach and drink umbrella drinks and look at the sunsets and so forth. That knowledge goes with you. So what Corello does is Corello kind of travels along with the part, but more importantly, it travels along with the operator as a coworker. And as it goes through, it learns. It starts from the paper travelers, but as it as it starts to work through the manufacturing process, it learns what's that unique step, what are those unique things that Colin does that aren't captured anywhere? What are the
Mhm.
next things that Jim does that aren't captured anywhere? What are the next things that Ann does that aren't captured anywhere? And it learns that. And so it effectively then begins to serve as a coworker in the operation. So the manufacturer can dramatically shorten the amount of time necessary to launch a new piece into the manufacturing process, and the operators are much more efficient. And if you decide that you are going to take your retirement on the beach with your umbrella drinks, and somebody new steps in, that knowledge stays right there with them as a coworker, standing as if you were still there. So we've been able to show, it's called Corello. What we've been able to demonstrate that it can do is it on average will improve the productivity of a worker by about 25 or more percent over time. And over time, because it is a small language model, so it's a vertical AI. But over time, it will continue to improve productivity further and further and further, because the longer it's in, the more it learns.
That's awesome. And I think that'll put some minds at ease that AI isn't replacing you as a worker, but it's just enhancing because, of course, you come into a new job, there's someone that's been there 20 plus years, like you say, they've got tons of experience that, you'll come under their tutelage and gain from. But what if that person isn't there?
Right.
That's a great way to have that experience.
So Corello,
So,
I can add one more comment.
sure.
Corello is a company that we build in the Venture Builder, and we originated in the Venture Builder. And the technology that is based on this ability to deal with unstructured data versus systems of record is technology that we have developed in our own tech team that is patented towards Corello. So we do license that technology to other companies, either that come through our investment process or companies that come through our platform, our Venture Builder.
Excellent. And there was another one that I wanted to make sure that we covered. So that's in the manufacturing space. In the healthcare space,
Mhm.
tell us about I'll let you tell the company name, but the question was going to be what sort of AI is outperforming humans in the healthcare space. So I'll let you talk about eSteps if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. I thought you were going to talk about Camtech AI. Okay. eSteps. I forgot we did talk about eSteps during our earlier conversation. eSteps is a company that came to us through our acceleration platform in Europe. It's an Italian company. They developed an AI powered insole. Now, the insole itself isn't AI powered, but the monitoring system on the insole is in fact AI powered. And the insole, a patient puts the insoles in their shoes like any other insole, like a Dr. Scholl's insole would go into your shoe. And the insole monitors the person's walk and their gait. And based upon how a person walks and their gait and so forth, it can detect very, very subtle, the AI that's paired to the insole can detect very, very, very subtle changes in the way a person's walking and their gait that can be leading indicators for muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, any host of these neurodegenerative diseases that are so devastating and oftentimes can be maybe not cured, but very well managed if detected at an early stage. So it allows the very early stage detection of those neurodegenerative diseases.
It's amazing.
And the insole wouldn't work without the AI application that goes with it.
Yep. And then, yeah, if you wanted to talk a little bit about Discovery AI, let's hear about that.
Well, okay. So Discovery AI comes to us from another one of our portfolio companies, a company called R. Daniel. And R. Daniel is a company that works with manufacturers to detect changes in their margin and their profits, their revenue and their profits very subtly based upon the records that the company has. So those are systems of records. So those would be their accounting system, their sales, their ERP system and so forth. And the reason that's called Discovery AI is most large companies have a system of analysts, a team of analysts that analyze all that data and report changes to the management team on a monthly or quarterly basis.
So
The management
what
can see
what
those,
size companies
changes.
are we talking about that actually would benefit from
Well,
just
okay. Well, any company would benefit from Discovery AI, but the ones that are most likely to benefit are companies that are medium to medium large size companies, where
okay.
they either have analysts or they don't have analysts to analyze the data. And the reason it's called Discovery AI, it's an agentic AI. There's a master agent. The master agent every day, every night, launches a team of other agents to go out and scour the company's systems of record, their financial systems, and do the analysis. And so when the management team comes in the morning, think of it as a news board. There's a news board that's sitting there for them and saying, here are the changes that occurred in your financial system that are so subtle you'd never see them in many cases, but can provide very deep insights into the future. Here are those changes that occurred yesterday. So they're getting their information in real time, and it's called discovery because it's not a pull AI, such as we're used to with most other AI systems. It's a push AI. It's the agentic systems pushing the information to you and knowing what information you need to see and presenting it to you in a way that is easily digested and you can act on immediately that day. So that, or you can understand the trends and act on it in such a way that you can get to it much faster than you could if humans were doing it. Now, it doesn't replace, in large companies, it doesn't replace teams of analysts. All it does for that, in those cases, is it makes those teams of analysts that much more effective. Again, it's not going to replace people. It's going to enhance people.
Going to do a lot of the, the paper sifting that people don't want to do, especially not in the middle of the night.
Well, they don't want to do it in the middle of the night, and they couldn't do it in the middle of the night because
Right.
they can't move that fast. So it's really the difference to the management team between getting data that is a month old and trying to lead the company by looking in the rearview mirror, or getting data that's a few hours old and leading the company by looking out the windshield.
Hmm.
That's the difference.
A lot of value there for
Ton
sure.
of value there.
So you said in our first conversation that the biggest challenge isn't regulatory, it's cultural fluency, being that you focus mainly on LATAM and Europe. Why do you say that?
Well, now, okay, I said that in two different contexts. One context is the cultural fluency that's necessary for the international founders to really understand how business is done in the United States, because it's done very differently than it is in Latin America and Europe or many other parts of the world. So the founders, if they're truly going to be successful in internationalizing or truly successful in raising additional capital in the United States, really need to understand that and develop a cultural fluency. Now, we, on the other hand, as investors, need to develop a cultural fluency in understanding where they're coming from.
Sure.
So I think the term I probably used was bicultural fluency,
Mm.
which is understanding both directions. That's in terms of business. In terms of artificial intelligence, cultural fluency is important because of goes back to our problem of replacing people versus enhancing people. Is culturally, our culture is one where we automatically assume something is going to hurt us, and so our fight or flight mechanisms kick in, and that's slowing down the adoption of artificial intelligence, which, as you see from some of the examples we've talked about today, it's not hurting us. It's enhancing us. It's
Mhm.
making us better. It's allowing us to do the things that we can do better than anything else on the planet can do because of our brains
Right.
and our ability to reason and so forth. So we're not good at seeing patterns. Artificial intelligence is really good at seeing patterns. I don't think it's going to replace us anytime in the near term in terms of its ability to cognitively reason the way that we can cognitively reason.
Hmm. And interact.
Yeah, so there's a fluency, there's that cultural fluency that the corporations need to develop in terms of truly understanding how AI is going to move the needle for them in the ways that you need it to move the needle, which is for terms of revenues and profits more.
So I won't ask the 5 years from now question because I think it's been asked so many times and it's impossible to know, right? Because at this point, the velocity just changes so quickly.
So fast.
But what question do you wish that founders would ask you more often in order to make themselves ready?
Whoa, that's a good one. But what do I wish they'd ask more often? I wish they'd ask more often what the market really needs. Does the market really need what I'm doing? And or how can I adapt what I'm doing to make it more ready for what the market is asking for? So again, this is the area where I think we're having the hardest time as founders and investors in keeping up. That is that we're so used to a pace at which things moved, and that pace is no longer valid. It's gone from a crawl to a walk to a sprint to an outright run. Many founders are still, particularly international founders, are still operating at a slower pace than the market is moving. I wish they would ask those questions.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great question. Well, Greg, thanks for joining me. It's been a very valuable conversation. I'm sure that if people want to get a hold of you, they're already in queue too, but we'll leave a link to ScaleUp Labs. And if there's any of our viewers that are looking for practical applications and systems inside operations, I'll put a link to Endeavor's AI in the show notes as well. Thank you very much for your time, Greg. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Colin. It really was fun for me too.
Thank you.